Our next speaker will be John Burroughs. S or no S? I'm sorry.
Whichever way you want to say. S.
S, Burroughs? Not Burrow. Okay. With a non-title, oh, downtown. Sorry, downtown.
No, downtown.
Downtown.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So how many of you live downtown? But when I say downtown, I mean south of North Avenue, east of Halsted, and north of Roosevelt. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, friends, I've lived downtown for about 5 years, and I can honestly say it's one of the best moves I ever made. Before I lived downtown, I was living in Humboldt Park, and things just weren't as convenient. I remember parking on a side street when there was a couple inches of snow, and then going to my car the next day and finding all my tires were slashed. Because I guess in some streets in Chicago they shovel the snow and that's their space, but there's 2 inches of snow. I remember another time I was locked out of the gate of my 2-flat because the gate was frozen shut. The fact is, when you live downtown in a modern high-rise, these things just don't happen. As far as downtown, Richard Florida, he's a noted writer, he's written many books about the subject. The fact is, downtowns where you have high concentration of people, generally it's going to have more ideas, just the sheer fact that people are tighter together. Generally there's more intellectual capital and just more wealth creation. So since I've moved downtown, I'll just give you a few examples. A couple years ago, some of you know I started a hobby of collecting sterling silver. So I started to go into antique shops, and one of the first places I went to was an antique shop in River North, and I found untold treasures there. Stuff that you wouldn't find in other places. Why? Because it's downtown. A few other things about downtown, and I'm giving my second quote. Woody Allen, a noted filmmaker, he said that 90% of success is just showing up. And the fact is, when you live downtown, things are more convenient. Many times my work calls me just because I'm close by. And then we all know from coming to Toastmasters, sometimes you can't make it. Twice in the past month, I wanted to go to my Michigan Avenue Toastmaster, and I was ready to go, but they canceled because there was a few inches of snow. But I was ready to go. And so many other things about downtown. As far as the latest real estate crash, real estate prices have held up much better downtown than the far suburbs or far parts of the city where prices have dropped 50%. And on any given night, I live in River North. Sometimes when I'm walking home from work, you can see the clubs and restaurants by like State, Illinois Hubbard. Pretty much any night of the week, they're packed with people, conventioneers, where if you go somewhere else in the city, it's kind of dead. So these little things show me that downtown is the place to be. As far as downtown too, as I mentioned before in my speech, just the simple fact of people being crunched together creates something called serendipity, where just the chance of meeting people is greater because you're so close together. I remember walking to work about a year ago, and I do politics as a hobby. I ran for office, but not right. I didn't win. That's why I'm here, but I ran, so I'm a little interested. And I was walking to work, and I saw our governor, our not so great governor. He was walking down the street, but he's still, I like him, I look up to him, he's a progressive. And he was just walking down the street with his security detail behind him. And I said, hey, my name's John Burroughs, and I talked to the guy for like 2 or 3 minutes, the governor. I mean, stuff like that just doesn't happen if you live on the north side. Where I live in River North, there's a lot of new technology companies. And say you're starting a technology company and you're looking for investors. Are you going to meet that hedge fund investor at the Starbucks on Clark and Hubbard? Or are you going to meet him at next to your garden apartment in California and Diversity? The odds are you're going to meet him downtown. So these are some of the things about downtown that makes it so great. Now, is downtown perfect? No, it's not perfect. My apartment it's about 560 square feet. It's pretty small, and it's not cheap. But the fact is I'm there to be successful, so I don't spend a lot of my time in my apartment. I just sleep there, and then I'm out and about. So what if I was married? Chicago public schools, I've heard they're not that good, right? But we have to sacrifice. If you move downtown with your kids in tow, sure those first few years might be difficult in a Chicago public school, but you're there to be successful. If you make money and become that multi-millionaire, you can send them to private. We have some of the best private schools in the city. A few other things that might not be so good. There's always that slim chance we could have let's face it, a thermonuclear war. Downtown Chicago, we're going to be ground zero. And you could be safer maybe with my friend who has a second home in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. You're going to be safer there. But like I said, downtown, you want to be successful. There's some give and take, and you have to take risks to be successful. But I wanted to ask some of our audience members that live downtown. Chris, you raise your hand. Tell me some of the benefits that you've had from living downtown.
Not having to drive every day.
Not having to drive?
Yeah.
I found that too.
Great restaurants everywhere.
How long have you been downtown?
4 years.
And do you think has it helped your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of sitting in traffic for hours, I could just spend those hours working.
Tell me a drawback from living
Homeless people who are asking you for money is not.
Homeless people. I don't give that. Anybody else? Downtown story?
Love
Or Toastmaster?
downtown, walk everywhere, eat out. The biggest minus, which you're all gonna laugh at me, is I'm really a pro at takeout, but I don't like to take out from restaurants, I like to take out from takeout places. So where you can go buy a cooked chicken here or whatever there, and downtown does not have that like they do in New York, which drives me insane. Other than that, I have no complaints, other than no good takeout.
Thank you. So anyway, in summing it up, I hope you've listened to some of my ideas, and some were tongue-in-cheek, but I do think for the right person, and depending on what you do and what your goals are, I do think there are some benefits to downtown living, so give it a thought. Thank you.